Okay, let the record show that at 11:16 we came back into open session, having taken no action in closed session. We have a couple of items that we need to talk about. Number 11, F, and G that need to be talked about. And it's you guys, right? Al?
Right, rows. You want to do rows? So let me go over F again. First of all, let me make clear that F, what we discussed only with attorneys on appropriateness of F and G to be discussed in closed session. The attorneys determined that it wasn't, or it might be, but rather than do it, we didn't go that way. And so there's been no discussion in closed session on F and G. F has to do with Texas Water Code Section 55677, which is for water improvement districts. And it has to do with land that was not subject to taxation, but could be irrigated. And we've done this process over many years where we look at the amount of recognized water rights being 69,010 acres, and for various reasons, land occasionally comes in and out. Government acquires land that was irrigable land, but we don't enter in a contract with them for water, so that land can become available. Sometimes, and they want it removed from the tax rolls. It is when they acquire it. Other people just historically, I don't know, Rose, you can talk better. Why have people taken stuff that was subject to taxation and taken it out, just for numerous reasons, right?
Well, there would be a transfer of water rights from a land that has water rights classified as first class irrigable land to then land that has been classified as second class, which could be seed, sand hills, suspended because of the soil itself.
Right. And this is
So
going way back over time.
Yes, sir. So we remove it from one and give it to the other.
Yeah, and so then, and as they improve the land, they level it, irrigation techniques have changed, they can irrigate. This particular one that we have on 12, or on G, is just a small one that at one time was irrigated, or it was never irrigated?
No, sir, it didn't have water rights. It was, I'm sorry. Jay has the file.
It's 0.79 acres, right at Montoya Road and Red Road in the Upper Valley. It's in the middle of all the irrigated land, so I'm not sure.
I think it was,
Maybe classified as sand hill at one point, but it's
was classified as being suspended. It didn't give the breakdown. This is from the Bureau.
It has a community ditch
So,
in the
yes,
back
sir.
of it.
these were lands suspended, and now we've gone and looked at, we've talked to Robert, they can be irrigated. And the real question is why F is before G is that there's no direct guidance in the water code as to actually how to determine what the adjustment for the time value of money should be on those taxes. So historically, what we've done is just charge the rates that were in effect at the time. But in reviewing this and looking at applications that are pending for large amounts of land to be reclassified, I don't know that that's appropriate, so I wanted to bring that back to the board's attention. So, for example, in 1939, the assessment rate would have been what?
$5.
$5. But $1939 today are like 8 or 10 times that, like $50. So the question would be, should there be a time value of money percentage added to this to bring it up to present value? There's numerous ways to do that. They're very complicated. The government, as everybody knows, for years and years, I mean, since the Depression, I think this was set during Roosevelt's term, we had a 6% number. They don't use that number anymore, obviously. But they had to just, rather than go through what the inflation was for every year, they would just go ahead and use a standard 6%. Other people, in times now use a smaller number, but it's up to the board. I would, the number that staff's willing to recommend is 2%. That we bring it all up by at least 2% for the time value of money. That seems like a reasonable compromise. I think at 6%, you'll set numbers that are so high that people will never reclassify. 0 seems there's no time value of money. And we can show you what the differences would be.
Do we need to set a policy to?
Yeah, you need to give us guidance as do you want to adjust these assessments rates for the time value of money?
Or
What about more recent ones we've done?
Well, we haven't done any. The last one we did without any accelerator. It's not an accelerator, it's an adjustment.
It's
for the
not
time.
required by law. Is
I
there?
don't know, it doesn't say any, the water code is very simple.
It doesn't say it.
It doesn't say, the reason we brought this up is there's large amounts of, there's applications for large amounts of line. The revenue difference in the district on the 2% number is probably around $300,000 to $400,000 on the pending applications. So, it's a decision, and we
For
tabled
this-
this decision
And that's for the 69, Tim.
to bring it, we can't go over 69,000.
To the 69, Tim.
And I think it's always good to get us back to that.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna get the land for the large amounts?
Excuse me?
When you say large amounts, you mean 10 acres, 100 acres?
Hundreds of acres.
Where are you gonna get,
We have applications pending
where are
right
you gonna get the water?
now.
rights?
We have, how much what's your departure right now in the book?
447 acres.
So it's 447 is what's eligible.
As far as-
Convert, is to reclassification. And we should, my goal would be with tax office and revenues
No, yeah,
to get all that reclassified.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you something. Do you think that the district has, this is not a legal test question, but just dawned on me, can we reclassify land on our own initiative?
We always send it, well, first of all, it has to be irrigable, so we have to go make sure
Right,
we can
so
irrigate it.
it's irrigable,
It's been
revenue
reclaimed,
flow.
yeah, it's no longer saline land, it
Right.
can be irrigated, it's
Right.
not just, we also put a covenant on this that is recorded, that's the board set that policy up years ago, that requires that the water be used for 25 years for irrigation, so that so somebody's not just converting land to convert it to municipal, it has to be actually for irrigation. And then, we send it to the reclamation. So that when it's all over, we ask for,
They have to approve it.
yeah, well, we ask if they have an objection to it, so they come back with no objection.
I think the last one we did was 5R.
Yeah, last one we did was Flywar, which was sandhill land that had been reclaimed.
It's about a year, 2 years ago.
It was in our district. By the way, all this land has to be in our district, has to meet all these criteria. And then, but the real question came back up with this large amount eligible now and interest in reclassifying it was that we know that there is a time value of money and that $5 in 1939 is not $5 in 2015. And it's a difficult question. If it wasn't a huge, in other words, if I could just accelerate it by inflation and do that calculation every year, I'm not sure our inflation numbers go back to 39, but they go back to approximately that time. They're difficult numbers to work with. I think the amount to reclassify an acre would be so large there'd never be any reclassification. At the other end of the spectrum, there's 0, which is what we're doing now, and I think that's too low. So the staff's recommendation was a compromise of 2%.
And what did you say that figure worked out?
Well, I've got it here, I apologize, I should have had,
Al, let me ask you, then,
you have a calculator.
basically what they're doing is repaying all the taxes from 1939.
So for example, right now with no, I don't want to do the CPI, that's too complicated, because I have to.
Those
You get-
of us who have
Who have
paid
already been paying for those many years, the previous landowner, yeah.
I don't have-
Right now, it's with 0 accelerated, it's 13, and by the way, each land is unique.
Right.
So you have to look at seeing when it was no longer subject to taxation. Some of these lands were irrigable at one time and taxed, and then they, for whatever the reason, the board removed their responsibility, they didn't receive any water, and it no longer was. But on this particular land, we feel that it hadn't paid any taxes over the years, and so the total simple accumulation of the annual rates that were in effect at that year is $1,334 an acre. That's from 1939. That's with no acceleration.
With the 2%.
You haven't done that calculation. I know I sent them to you, but I would suspect that it'd be about double that, or a little less than that. It's not a straight 2% because each year I got to look at the year and many years to multiply it. It's a long calculation. One of those things with calculus involved. Exponentials. Cavalry
Goes into
factor.
analytical geometry. Let's get into analytical.
Or you can brute force it like I do, and just have like for 1939, I could just have a column that has.
It's a little banking.
I don't think it'll be fair.
2% into 74, 84, what is that?
Walter Hart.
Yeah, I think there should be some, it's our recommendation. 1%, 2%.
Not how much
I myself don't have a problem with the 2%. It needs to be,
It needs to be
all we're
something,
trying to do is
yeah.
reach equity from what you guys have paid taxes all your life.
That's what I'm
Bring
saying.
it, they have to bring it up to the same, and
or everybody
2%
else.
is minimum, really. I mean, it's a hell of a lot more than that, I mean.
It's gonna be like-
Yeah, if you looked at it at the
Inflation over the
inflation,
years.
it would be.
Yeah.
But
Even
it's-
at 2%, you'll be surprised, 39 is down.
It'd be a lot for that $5.
I was gonna say it's probably about, I wanna say 4 times, I don't remember.
No, because remember, it's highly, our rates changed through the years. So the $5.39 wasn't, I don't know,
Oh,
what-
it'll stay there for those number of years and then
it'll change. So it's already accelerated some, and then it goes back. You guys reduced taxes, remember? So,
Yes.
so it's a very non-uniform time series, annual series of numbers that has to be calculated individually. But I know that I run the analysis and and discussed it with staff, and we looked at it at 80% level. We felt it wouldn't discourage the land being converted back into, which we want, which is good for the district and it's good for the tax base. And at the same time, it was more equitable to the taxpayers.
Does anybody have any problem with the 2%? If not, I'd entertain a motion that we adopt that as
Add to the policy.
a,
I mean, everyone,
You're saying 2% per year?
yeah, remember, every one of those is just a policy, and it's just what we start with to bring that to the board each time, and you make a determination on a case-by-case basis.
for this particular one, we need the motion for the 2%, right?
Yeah, well, let me, as always, that would be a change to our policy, so 2%, so we'll make a motion for that, and that's a separate motion, then we need to discuss the specific application, which has some
Right,
unique
no, I
stuff.
understand that first.
And I'm gonna ask that it not apply to the specific one for various reasons, and I'll tell you why. Just this one, this one has some unique issues. You guys have to make, again, you make the policy is just policy. It's like our rates. You look at each application you
Why
need.
don't you write the new policy and bring it back to us, and we'll adopt it next. Do that, since you're not gonna utilize it on this other?
No, I've got pending applications. This is one of unique from those other pending applications. So this one has unique, I would like you to adopt the 2% as policy, just state it, that
Okay.
2%.
I'd entertain a motion
Wait,
to
wait,
adopt
wait.
the 2% as
Well, let me
policy.
tell you something here, Ed. If it's 2% starting at a certain date, $100 in 60 years is $328.
I know, it's a series of, every year has to be calculated, so in the end, it's not as much as you think. It's not
That would be
$300,
$328.
it's not 3 times the amount, it's something less than that, because that's only that $5 in 1939. The entire taxes are accumulated on an annual series.
Okay,
Okay, guys.
I think I got you.
For example, the number of
So you're saying
calculations.
if it was $5 for 10 years, and then all of a sudden it was $6,
Yeah.
those $5 are only $5, and then,
Well,
Yeah,
but
no.
you have to do the calculation every year in the future for every single year. For example, 1939, bringing it to the present, has 70 or more, or
right,
what is it, 77 calculations
Right.
for that $5. And then the next year only has 76.
Okay.
And the one for last year only has 1.
yeah.
What we need to do is pass a motion for the 2% and the method of calculation, y'all work it out later.
Yeah, we know the method.
Do I hear a motion to change the policy to a 2%, what do you call it?
Accelerate, adjustment for the time value of money.
Time value of money on any lands that are going to be reclassified, right?
Right, at
Do
0.
I hear that motion?
What percent?
2%. Adjustment for the time value, annual, 2% annual.
I move it. I'll make that motion.
I got a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
even though I'm not sure
You
what
vote no,
it
you
is.
don't do- Okay, well, you can go, you can vote no. Been moved and seconded, we establish it, the
2%.
reclassification, value of money, whatever.
The way Al said it.
2%, yeah, whatever Al said.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did you vote aye?
No,
No. Two
I
ayes.
abstain, but
You're abstained, you're not gonna vote, okay. So, motion carried.
On G, on application 1670, this application was made and under the old policy, and it was a situation that normally we don't do this, and I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but the payment was made with 0 time of value adjustment, that's the previous policy, and the district actually processed that payment and has deposited it a year ago,
Well, we processed the processing fee, but not the taxes.
not the tax.
No,
Well,
the
you have,
tax, I still have the cashier's check, was over a year ago.
so the check's no
No
longer.
good, exactly.
Oh, okay, I thought he had the cashier's check, he thought he cashed the cashier's check.
Just
Okay.
the processing.
There's no issue, I thought we had accepted payment for it. And, if we had accepted payment, that sort of,
So what do you wanna do on
We
this?
did provide official documentation with the total.
there's nothing to do on this one, we'll take care of it next time. So we've got the policy set now. I'm sorry, I looked through the book and I
No
saw the
action.
cashier's check, I thought we.
No action on item G, 11G. I also,
We just created a board member.
when we came back into
That's all
open
you did.
session, I had made some comments about item 11E, the application for road runner gas transmission, that I would not participate. I was mistaken in the identity of that specific pipeline. I thought it was the other one that we're gonna have to deal with in the future. So retract all of that statement. I am gonna be part of the discussion in which we discussed in the closed session, but at this point in time, there'll be no action taken on 11E. Okay? And item 12A, I'd entertain a motion to approve the deed and the 2 easements from EP number 1 to the city of El Paso for the Playa Drain. Y'all can get the specific terminology worked out.
Yeah, and that be only, that offer be only valid till August 1st, contingent upon payment of the negotiated fees and consideration.
Anybody want to make that motion? Indar makes a motion, Larry seconds. All in favor say aye, all opposed,
Aye.
same sign.
Johnny, authorizing you to sign the requisite documents.
Okay, make sure that the motion says all the stuff that we intended.
And Mr. Stubbs will be, you'll be gone, right?
I'm gonna be gone from the 17th until the 9th.
17th.
Really, might as well make it effective to the 16th.
No, not to August.
Well, I think that the procedure that we have in place, and without any exception to Mr. Bowen's comment, is that we use our standard signature procedure that he's operating the board, president to sign it, when the board president's not available, the vice president.
Yes, that's what I had.
So we don't want to restrict it just to him, so.
I do.
Well, it depends on whether, because I'm leaving the 17th.
Well, we're gonna try to close tomorrow.
Oh, well, I'll be around. Okay.
Doesn't mean.
Item
close.
12B, also show no action. Has been taken.
Try.
I think that's all the business to come before this extinguished form. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Larry makes a motion. Indar seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.